Hey everybody, Ken Salvail here today. It is about the middle of January and we're just having a look at the plant room. I did my little video there, I guess that was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago in regards to the plant room and all the stuff that's going on there. And I was showing you some plants and talking a little bit about some pests and that sort of thing, which happens. It is the indoor plant world, so when you do deal with indoor plants and pests like that, what happens is temperature is everything. So plants that are indoors, the temperature is just very even. It just stays pretty close. Like it goes down a little at night and then up a little in the day, but it's pretty even. And that's what the bugs really like. So they multiply really quick. So it's just really important to note that when you have plants, especially for me, I've got a grow light and it's quite warm. So it warms up really nice in the daytime up to about maybe 75 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere in that range. And what happens there is the insects kind of multiply quickly. They start to multiply. I've been managing to keep them in check, as I mentioned in my last video there on the plant room, was just touching the insects with my hands and keeping them under control that way, and that worked pretty good. But I did have some new insects that came in since then, and so I just wanted to tell you a little bit about those and what a pain they are and what we need to do, and maybe some tips on what to do with that kind of a thing when you do come across that. So I'm just going to go here and flick you over to looking at the plant. There we go. Now you can see these are brugmansias. They really have grown. In the last video I was taking all the leaves off them, and they've really grown a bunch of new leaves. So this is just one of the things that happens. The brugmansias want all the light, so they're just stealing all the light, and the plants down on the floor are I put the low light plants sort of underneath, the plants that don't have much requirement. And then I put the higher light plants sort of in the middle, or where they can access light. But even with that, the way these brugmansias grow is they just put on a ton of growth, and they shade all the other plants. Just to note that this room is just for storage of plants over the winter time. So that's all I want to do, is I just want to get them through the winter and not worry too much about them. So I don't really care too much about what they look like or anything. I just want to get them through and get them to survive, and then by next spring we're going to be able to probably spring, I mean early summer, we would plan on putting all these plants outside on our patio. In this climate, we're zone 5, zone 6 in this climate, so we would be putting our plants out probably around the 20th of May, or maybe even a bit later than that, maybe the beginning of June, just to be safe. It's important to note that most tropical plants, like these ones, they really don't like temperatures that go much below 10 degrees Celsius. So that's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So, they don't like to get colder than that. So it's one of these things that what we do is we just have to really be cognizant of that and not let things get too cold. And so when we're moving them outside, we have to know what's going on. So this is the plumeria plant. I don't know if you remember, I was showing you that it had started to bud, and now it's blooming. And so they're lovely and fragrant and just a real beautiful. They grow as a small tree in the tropics, and they lose leaves from time to time. That's normal. This one came in with spider mites on it, and so I was showing you how to just wipe the leaves, and you can see the damage on this leaf. Like it's fairly obvious that you can see the speckled look on that leaf. That's spider mites, and you can see here it's almost like a patch down the center of the leaf. And with spider mites, they really spread quickly, and there's a lot on this plant. And I went away for a while, and when I got back, they had got out of hand, so I didn't really get a chance to stay on top of it. But usually if I just wipe them. Now this plant has big wide leaves, so it's a little easier. And what I would also recommend, as I mentioned on the last video, is to use a damp cloth. Just get it wet and just wipe the leaves. Give them a pretty good wiping, scrubbing on all surfaces. Just that really wipes out those little spider mites and all their eggs and everything. So just as an awareness thing, that's what we need to do. And so I'll be getting back on that now. I've just been back for a couple days. The big Bocarnia is doing great. It just thinks it's in heaven. It needs light above it, but hey, it's right to the ceiling, so it's just going to have to, again, survive till spring. Then we can put it outside. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting program here for sure, with all the different types of plants and sort of limited space. I'm sort of one of these people who has a lot of plants. My upstairs is absolutely just flooded with plants. I have plants everywhere, so I have to work on that. So a little bit more on the spider mite thing is because that one plant, the plumeria, had some spider mite on it. It's one that has spread the spider mite to the other plants. So one thing about different insects is often they're some insects, they only go on one type of plant, so that it doesn't spread around much, right? But spider mites are less specific. They tend to just go on any type of plant that sort of suits their sort of their diet. They're not really too worried. If it's a plant, that's good. That's the only choice they have to really make. The other insect we're having some issues with is the white fly, and this is greenhouse white fly. So last video I didn't have any of those at all, but I thought anyway, but there might have been a few in here. And I'm just going to see if I can find a few for you. They're very tiny, and I'll add some pictures here as well. But okay, so I'm just going to have a look here carefully and see. Sometimes you just see the tiniest little white speck. There's one there. I think that's a white fly. It's very tiny, maybe not. But they usually hang out on the undersides of the leaves. And there's one right there. You can see that little white guy right there. So white flies are great. What I do is I just do the old, put my thumb on it and give them a little smear. There's a couple more up there too. You got to get rid of these guys, and that's what you do is you just put your thumb on them, give them a little smudge with your thumb, and that gets rid of them. But of course you don't want to have them get out of control, right? You don't want them to their populations to build. So what I've been doing is I've been monitoring through all the plants very carefully, looking at every branch, every leaf, and I look for outbreaks. And an outbreak you can tell because there's just a whole bunch of these insects all massing on one leaf or on the tip of one branch or something. In that case, then I sometimes pinch the whole tip right off, and I have a leaf bucket that I have in the room, and I throw all my leaves in there. And then when I do remove a bunch with insects on it, then I get them right outside and just dump them into a snowbank, so they're not going to survive that way. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of a cool thing. These plants, once we do get sort of the insect management out of the way, then it's really just a matter of a little bit of fertilizer. I haven't fertilized these guys much recently because I don't want them to grow a lot, right? I don't want them to get huge. I just want them to just keep on going and maintain. So I'm going to be coming through here again and stripping out a whole bunch of these leaves because like these great big leaves, they're too big. They're just too big. Also, I notice a lot of people are always worried about the brugmansias because they're part of the datura family, that they're worried about them being poisonous, but I haven't really found any issues with them. The datura themselves, like this is brugmansia, that's the botanical name. They're related to daturas, and daturas are fairly poisonous, and they act as a bit of a hallucinogen, but apparently the side effect of taking them as a hallucinogen is death. So you just, whoever thinks they're going to do it as a drug or whatever, good luck with that. It's not a good thing. So anyway, I just mentioned that because I know a lot of people are afraid of brugmansias, but they're really, I don't know, I have no problems. My hands right now are just covered with sap because I'm pinching off these big leaves, getting rid of them, and getting rid of the yellow leaves, anything that's ready to fall. I'm trying not to let them build up on the floor, so I have to clean them up. I got a few I see that I need to clean up. But these big leaves, they just shed, or they don't shed enough actually, but they just are shading all of my plants down below. I have some orchid cactuses down there. These two are yellow flowering. They're actually yellow and white. They're quite pretty. And I have a few other orchid cactuses. Over here I have this is my pink empress orchid cactus. Let's see if I can just zoom out a little bit here for you. Not sure if I can. There we go. So yeah, this one I have it on a plant stand. So it's up above the ground. It's very pendulous. And this thing gets really pink orchid-like flowers all over it. It's very lovely. And then in behind here I have this plant here is actually a dragon fruit. They're kind of fun, and I just grew that from seed. So they're quite easy to grow from seed. So I highly recommend growing any kind of cactuses from seed. Just remember that the orchid cactus group they're tropicals. So they're not always wanting to be dry. They don't mind to go slightly dry between waterings, but they're also rainforest tropicals. So here's a lesson for you today. 2 types of tropicals. There's rainforest tropicals where they get tons and tons of water and it rains almost every single day and they're used to getting wet feet and that sort of thing. Then there's desert tropicals that are more like dry loving. So an example of that might be, say, plants that would live in, say, Mexico, where the whole winter it's very dry and sunny and hot, and those plants, they just thrive, no problem. And then they go through long periods of rain, but then back to being dry again. So they're plants that like to dry out between waterings. So I just want to bring that up. Sometimes we do tropical plant installations inside buildings, that sort of thing. And you have to pick the right types of tropical plants for the right installations, because on some of them they need that constant high humidity all the time, which is not always the best thing when you're indoors. So if you want to grow tropicals inside of a building, you're often better to use desert tropicals, the ones that can handle drying out between waterings. They don't need as much water and they're better with lower humidity. So anyway, it's all fun and games in the tropical plant biz. Anyway, chatting with you today. Remember to check growercoach.com. Remember to check the little thumbs up at the bottom and subscribe and all that stuff. It's really appreciated. Having lots of fun building some new videos and things. So I'm hoping to have a bunch of new things coming down the pipes here. And even some old videos that I did years ago that I wasn't able to get them all edited up properly, and some really cool garden tour videos and that sort of thing. So I'm hoping to get those online as soon as I can. And on that note, I just want to thank everybody for supporting us here at Grower Coach, and yeah, I really do appreciate it. Without you guys, we would be nothing. And so thanks very much for staying on board and subscribing and liking and commenting. Please ask questions. Remember to check out our garden show every Saturday. If you want to listen to it live, you just can go online. We have links down below this video where you can either just copy it and paste it into your browser, and then you can check out the garden show every Saturday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. And we have people phoning in asking gardening questions. It's a 2-hour-long show, and it's been going for a long time. We'll get that number for you. We always forget to write the numbers down, but we're getting close to, at least I would say, 1,870 shows, somewhere in that range. So that's going to be it for today. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for watching Grower Coach. Take care now.